What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy. Want to wish you a very happy hump day. It is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. And while I'm here, I need to say a very happy birthday to my dad, to Papa Ocho. For those of you who have been around for a long time, you remember when my dad would be on some shows. I need to work on getting him on another one here soon enough. It's my dad's birthday. As I mentioned recently, it was my birthday on Monday. It's always been very, very cool and very fun for us to have birthdays that are so close together. Very fun few days for our family. So happy birthday, Dad. I love you. Thank you for always, giving me the encouragement in life to chase and do and try anything and everything I want, because I know that you will always catch me if I fall, will always support me, will always help me, will always be my biggest fan, my biggest cheerleader. I love you very much, and I hope your day is special. I also love all of you who are hanging out watching this on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I got daily discussion, live videos, live shows, post-game shows, all sorts of stuff happening all the time, because it's the best time of year, not just my dad's birthday, but Dallas Cowboys football season. The Dallas Cowboys on the road this week, taking on the Denver Broncos, a place, or a team, I should say, who they haven't beaten since 1995. We talk a lot about things that haven't happened with this team since 1995, and one of them, lo and behold, is beating the Denver Broncos. I said that place. They haven't won at that place. They haven't won at Denver since 1992. So the Cowboys have lost 7. Shout out Monica Geller. 7 games in a row against the Broncos. I don't know why. It's very weird. It's a very, very weird kind of little hurdle that the Cowboys can't seem to get over these days. Got a preview with Joe Rolls dropping on the channel on Thursday, talking all things Cowboys Broncos specifically. So that'll be coming out on Thursday. Got Madden preview or Madden simulation on Friday. My final thoughts will come out on Friday as well. Today we're here to talk about the trade stuff, the trade chatter. Now, important to note right away, the NFL's trade deadline is Tuesday, November 4th. That is one day after the final game for the Cowboys before the bye. I think I can word that more cleanly. The Dallas Cowboys play on Monday Night Football on Monday, November 3rd. That's the game after this Broncos game. So let me go in order, in sequence. Cowboys visit the Denver Broncos on Sunday, October 26th, and then they host the Arizona Cardinals on Monday, November 3rd. The next day, Tuesday, November 4th, is the trade deadline. The Cowboys are actually on their bye following that Cardinals game. So if they make a trade for a player at that particular point in time, we'll have to wait a little bit to see the Cowboys play with them for the first time. That actually happened 7 years ago in 2018. There it is again. Shout out to Monica Geller. When the Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper, we had to wait a little bit. They traded for him and we're on bye, and we saw them actually play on Monday Night Football, their first game back against the Tennessee Titans. They lost that game, fell to 3-5. Jason Witten was on the call. It was a crazy time. But we'll see if the Cowboys make a trade. But it does kind of seem like they are going to make a trade. Now, we're just here talking, just here going over reports, just here kind of figuring out what's out there for us to kind of attach our hopes or manifestations towards. So there's something that I wrote on Wednesday at bloggingtheboys.com that you can check out. I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. This is an ESPN report that I referenced in my article at bloggingtheboys.com. And these are Jeremy Fowler's words. Again, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. I'm going to read through these very quickly here in case you don't feel like doing so. That's why I'm here. This is Jeremy Fowler's perspective, to be clear once more, at ESPN. My understanding of the situation is the Cowboys are on the hunt for an impact defensive player and have reached out to teams throughout the league, likely all of them, to gauge interest with a number of players. Crosby, talking about Maxx Crosby, obviously we'll cycle back here in a second, presumably being one. So yes, I think there's interest. My sense is that Dallas would be pretty surprised if the Raiders actually moved on from Crosby, with whom owner Mark Davis has a deep affection. The Cowboys, armed with 2 first-rounders in 2026 and 7 picks in total before comp selections, also have looked into Bengals edge rusher Trey Hendrickson, who the Bengals don't plan to deal. Several other edge rushers will be available league-wide, so expect the Cowboys to get involved in various talks. The report continues. They have shown an eagerness to trade for players on rookie deals, which worked out great with Pickens, who is having a contract year for the ages, which is, I don't know why we said to get an extension done, but whatever. Pickens is pulling off quite the upset after the Steelers moved on. Pickens never had stable quarterback play in Pittsburgh, but he does now. The Cowboys have noticed that Pickens and Lamb have good chemistry as book and receiver, receivers, and one person with the team compared him to Dez Bryant. Incredibly talented and sometimes a distraction, but ultimately manageable. For Pickens, that's good company. Bryant made 3 Pro Bowls in 8 seasons with Dallas. So quickly here, it is noted with regards to George Pickens that the Cowboys will obviously consider giving him a contract extension likely after the season. And there was a note from Charles Robinson on 105.3 The Fan, Yahoo's Charles Robinson, on Wednesday that George's extension serves as a potential factor with regards to trade candidates for the Cowboys. And the reason for that is if we kind of look at everything we have working in this gazpacho here, there is the Maxx Crosby rumor that popped up in case you missed it on Tuesday. Trey Wingo, friend of Blogging the Boys, tweeted out, posted on X that he had heard that the Cowboys had called the Las Vegas Raiders about Maxx Crosby. That was Tuesday, kind of around lunchtime. Brandon Gouton and I actually touched on that during the NFC's mixtape show that we were doing live here on the channel. As Tuesday unfolded, various NFL insiders, friend of the show, Jane Slater, Mike Garafolo, lots of NFL Network people, lots of people in the know, in the mix reported that this doesn't seem like anything that's actually going to happen, just kind of threw some cold water on it, that the Raiders, these were all the reports, met with Crosby and told him, look, we're getting calls, maybe, whatever, who knows, but we're not moving you. So we'll see. And lots of people, understandably, who want the trade to happen, keep reminding everyone that the Cowboys said forever that they were not going to trade Micah Parsons. So anything can happen, and words ultimately mean nothing. So the Crosby thing is one element of this whole discussion. Another is the Pickens piece, because George Pickens is due for a contract extension in the offseason. And look, we're here to talk about pass rushers or defensive help. And so I don't mean to make this about George Pickens, but it is important to understand that any would-be contract drama with George Pickens would be hypothetically different than the drama that we've seen in recent seasons. Unlike Dak Prescott or CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons, George Pickens is not under contract for the Cowboys in 2026. So if there was any kind of Dallas Cowboys trademark drama, it would involve placing the franchise tag on him. I know that you know that that is to be expected, but what's interesting and significant about that detail is it would therefore not be able to ripple into Oxnard. It would therefore not be able to ripple into a point where the Cowboys could give him an extension 24 hours before the season began or something like that, because they would have to do something by the franchise tag deadline in the middle of the summer, July 15th. So the George Pickens thing, if it does reach the classic Dallas Cowboys place that a lot of Dallas Cowboys contract situations have in the past, will look differently than the situations that surrounded Dak Prescott anytime it surrounded Dak Prescott. CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, the list goes on and on. That franchise tag situation, because Pickens is on an expiring deal at the current moment in time, is an important distinction and what separates it from all of their most recent situations for the Cowboys. And I say that to say, because the Cowboys have to figure out, do we want to get an extension though with George Pickens? Do we want to place the franchise tag on him? The franchise tag is a value that is fully guaranteed. That's the way it works relative to your salary cap. And that would impact, right, theoretically, conceivably, any player who you would theoretically or conceivably want to trade for right now who could be on the books for the future. Now, I wrote something on Tuesday at blogontheboys.com. Spotrac had a great tweet about Maxx Crosby's contract numbers, cap hits for the foreseeable future, because that's the difference, right? If we look at Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson as options, and I think that those are kind of the, I don't want to call them clubhouse leaders or clubhouse favorites, but if you sat down at a restaurant or a sports bar or whatever to talk with the Cowboys fans at who should we trade for, I think those would be the two names that you two would have the most discussions about. Trey Hendrickson is in the final year of his contract with the Cincinnati Bengals, a year that was reworked. Obviously, he had a lot of contract drama with Cincinnati and whatnot. Maxx Crosby's not in that spot. Maxx Crosby got an extension from the Raiders. He's under contract for all intents and purposes through the 2029 season. So if you're the Cowboys and you're looking at the Maxx Crosby hypothetical, you're saying, okay, how tenable is it for us to absorb the Maxx Crosby situation and then maybe theoretically also do a George Pickens extension on top of that? It does work out for the Cowboys that they don't have a first-round draft pick from 2023 or really a draft pick at large from 2023 who they're going to have to give a contract extension to this coming offseason when the class of 2023 will be eligible for extensions for the first point in time. It could set the Cowboys up to ultimately just work on George Pickens while obviously handling whatever player's contract who they traded for in the here and now. There are a lot of factors here if that isn't obvious. Or you could say, well, just trade for Trey Hendrickson and consider him a mercenary. Consider him somebody who can conceivably help out this season, the 2025 campaign specifically, and he can leave and he can bring a comp pick in 2027. That is, it's not quite red pill, blue pill, but it is two different sides of an argument, two different angles, two different paths of a fork in the road. And I think that I have I've become very fond of the idea of the Cowboys having multiple first round draft picks in the 2026 NFL draft. I would fully endorse trading for Maxx Crosby, to be clear, in some sort of crazy, awesome hypothetical. But it would be a teeny tiny bit of a bummer to ultimately part with at least one, hopefully not both, of those first round draft picks. Again, it would be worth it for a player of Maxx Crosby's caliber. But you can make an argument, again, in the name or spirit or conversation of having conversations, that it is arguably more preferable to trade for Trey Hendrickson. It would not cost you that. You could still have a pass rusher who could come in and help the defense right here, right now, which is obviously the main primary focus. You could talk yourself into him netting you some sort of 2027 compensatory pick, and then you could utilize the draft picks in question to restock your shelves, refill, whatever you want your cupboard, and get some pass rushers in here to help 2026 and 2027, because in that hypothetical, Trey Hendrickson would have moved on to who knows where. So these are interesting options, and they're ultimately a matter of choosing your own adventure and which draft capital you want to part with, because it obviously won't take a first round draft pick to acquire half of a season of Trey Hendrickson, and would take a significant amount of draft capital to acquire Maxx Crosby, and who knows what other kind of cost to acquire what other player. But it seems way, way, way obvious at this point in time, given all the smoke surrounding the situation, that the Cowboys are going to trade for somebody before the deadline. At least it seems like they really, really, really want to. And I don't know how you can't really want to. I understand the argument behind, look, this team, this defense, it's still really bad. They're not a insert whatever name you want, Trey Hendrickson and Maxx Crosby. They're not one of those guys away. So why are you going to compromise the future just in the name of treading water here in 2025? I saw a tweet after the Bengals traded for Joe Flacco that I really liked, because I know we all kind of rolled our eyes and then kind of had to eat those words when the Bengals beat the Steelers on Thursday Night Football last week. But the tweet in question was from Albert Breer, and I loved the context behind it. Albert said, well, the reason the Bengals do this is because you have only so many years in which Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. And if you can preserve one, if you can save one, the one being 2025, if Joe Flacco can help you get there to having a healthy Joe Burrow, right, in all the like most optimistic scenarios possible for the Bengals, then it's totally worth it, because you're just trying to get to December. You're just trying to get to the playoffs and get to a place where Joe Burrow can be Joe Burrow. And who knows, maybe you can win the Super Bowl. Again, we're talking most optimistic outcomes here for the team in question. And so I look at the Cowboys. I understand the perspective of feeling like the defense isn't going to get good enough, regardless of whatever player the Cowboys ultimately trade for. But my counter to that is they have a quarterback playing at such an elite level. They have a pair of wide receivers who are capable of amplifying that talent. They have a tight end playing the position at a better rate than anybody has in recent memory. They have a run game working in perfect harmony with all this. They have an offensive play caller who's the head coach, who leans into all the right aggressive parts of the offense, of the team at large, of the overall culture and disposition of the organization these days. In terms of football properties, you have a defense that is turning a corner. And so if you can bring in somebody to help preserve that chance, if you can bring in somebody, we understand that this is a dream upon dreams. This is a very difficult thing to do, right? We're hoping and coping ourselves into believing that the Cowboys could maybe hypothetically, possibly, potentially contend or compete for a Super Bowl here. But that's why you make the trade, because you just never know when you're going to get this close again. This close being having the most important player, your quarterback, on the team playing at this high of a level. When you have that, it's worth doing anything. It's worth, and excuse the Jerry Jonesism and how lame and cliche it is, but it's worth going all in. It's worth pushing the chips in and saying, we're here right now. We want to cash in right now. We don't want to wait. We don't want to try. We don't want to hope that it's going to maybe happen again. We're willing to do something a little bit irresponsible in some respects in the name of capitalizing on this particular moment in time. I fully endorse that line of thinking, in general. But I mean, do the Cowboys, is this just chatter? Is this just something that they're going to keep talking about? Just something they're going to keep being connected to? Or are they actually going to make a trade? It is interesting that we're hearing so much discussion about names, big names, with 2 weeks to go before the deadline. Now, it should be noted that we've seen some players traded already in the NFL, and all the major insiders have said that they expect there to be more trades this season before the deadline. So this could be a philosophy or a disposition that a lot of teams, a lot of front offices, a lot of younger general managers are adopting and deploying relative to their own teams. And the Cowboys don't have a young general manager, obviously, but they seem to have, if we're willing to believe that they are truly, that these reports are genuine, that they truly and genuinely and earnestly are looking under every rock possible, that's pretty exciting. And I give them credit for that. And I'm not saying they have to make a trade in order for, to make good on that. But it will feel a little bit of a letdown. Like there are years where the Cowboys don't make a trade at the deadline and some people freak out. And sometimes I feel like, well, it wasn't the right situation. You're in the right situation right now. You have to go get somebody. You aren't somebody away, but you're somebody away from being so close. And you should capitalize on that. And I really hope that they do. Okay. So Thursday, my interview with Joe Rolls, who's all over the world talking all things Denver Broncos, that will drop here on the channel. Friday, Madden Simulation, final thoughts. Saturday, Dallas Cowboys in Espanol. Sunday, post-game show following the game. It's a busy week. We never stop, which is why you should subscribe to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel so you don't miss a single thing. If you want to hang out with me on social media, you can. I'm on X, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. You can go like my Facebook page, follow me on LinkedIn, whatever. I don't care. As long as you and I are friends somewhere on the internet talking about the Dallas Cowboys, that's all that makes me happy. You can also access any of these places. Down in the description below are links to each and every single one of my social profiles. For now, my friends, I'm going to bid you adieu and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I can't wait to see you next time, and I hope you eat something delicious and enjoy Survivor tonight. I'm super pumped about it. But yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here. Thanks so much for hanging out, and we will see you next time.